Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video we are going to work on the tests which I kind of skipped in my previous video. It was getting very long. So in this video we will add certain tests which are going to back the code that we have written for our GitLab webhook controller. So now that we already have that particular controller, let's just understand what we ideally would like to test. So obviously, because this is an API, what I would like to do is have one test which just confirms that the basic API with the given expected response is giving me a status code of 200. That is the bare minimum. Then we will test that when our token is not present, which is this particular piece of code, right? We would assert that it is catching that problem and it is responding accordingly. Now, while writing that, I discovered that I would rather change this to a response code, which is somewhat like this. Okay, like I would ideally have this in place with 401 because this makes much more sense. Otherwise, the API response will be an exception being thrown. Ideally, we should handle it. Once we have tested that, we would also need to test this condition, which is we will try to send an event type which is not supported by us, and we should expect a status code of 400. And while we do that, I would also refactor so that this password is coming from an env. I have already set that up. We will configure our config file inside the services.php file so that it takes that thing from that configuration and we will update it everywhere. And last but not the least, if you go to the api.php, right now it doesn't have a middleware. The check is over here. So we would remove this from this controller and add it inside a middleware. So this is the plan. Let's get started. So the first test that I would like to create is GitLab webhook API. I will write a few cases over here. So for example, the first one is we will assert that it gives a status code of 200 when data is present. Our next test will be it gives a 401 when the header is missing. So this is where we will check this particular thing. And it also needs to check whether the header is correct or not. So this is where we are checking whether the token is correct or not. And then we have to catch an error of 400 when event type is not supported. So as I said, we can't just start consuming every event type which is being sent by GitLab, right? Because we may not understand it. So we will have to test that as well. So these are the, how many? I think 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 tests that we will have to write. So let's get started with that. Now, obviously, the first thing that I would need to do is get our payload. I'm thinking, why don't I just copy that from my GitLab service test? So this is what I have. I will get the entire payload. And then I'll do post JSON. Route name is GitLab webhooks. Pass the sample data. And third parameter to post JSON is a set of headers that we want. So why don't we copy this? And what we will do is we will expect that the secret token from our config file. So now obviously I don't have this. What I will do is, okay, I don't have any functionality which allows me to add that. So I'll just open up services.php inside my config, and over here I'll have a new key called secret token env. My key is GitlabMx secret token. I have already placed that value over here, and now this thing does make sense. And what we will do is I'll copy this even inside the controller. I'll just make that change so now it is not hard coded. Now with this in place, what we want to do is, because this is the happy path, I'll just assert OK. And let's run and see if this is working. It is not. And the reason for that is, all right, it is not able to find that. And the reason is I copied it from the services folder, which is not going to give it that particular path. So now it is passing. What I can do is, just so that we are sure that this thing does work, if you, for example, do something like this, I'm sure it will fail because now it is not getting a 200 status code, right? So test is correct. All right, now it should give us a green as previously it was happening. So the first test is passing. We have no problem in there. What is the second one? Gives a 401 error when the header is missing. So this is pretty straightforward. What I can do is just come over here, copy this entire thing. Okay, I just need to get rid of the header, because this is the use case where I'm asserting that it would give me a 401 when the header is completely missing, right? So what I can do is assert unauthorized. So now if I run that test, it gives me a green signal, which is correct, and I'm pretty confident about this. Why don't we copy this one as well and paste it over here and say that it gives me a 401 when the token is wrong. And now this is something which we have already done. I will just steal this part. Okay. Oops. Comma. And I'll just make a token which is not correct. Okay. Or wrong token. I'll anyways run pint so this formatting and everything will work properly. But if I now run this, it is working. And if I get rid of this, obviously it expected 401, but it received 200. Okay, things are going good. This one is, I would say, even straightforward, because what we basically want to do is ensure that if we have an event type which we don't support, it gives an error. So why don't we again copy this piece, paste it here in the sample data, and this time I took the entire sample data, because what I am doing is I'm literally passing the entire webhook data, right? So what I will do is I'll have something like random. Okay, now what happens is when the sample data goes over here, right, in here, it will check in this array supported events, which is my condition over here, and it will definitely fail because I don't have a random as that thing, right? So why don't we make a correct token? We have this, and this time we don't expect, or we are not asserting unauthorized, we are asserting bad request, because 400 status code is a bad request. Okay. It received 200. That's a bit weird. I was expecting that to pass and now it is passing. So yeah, a typo from my side. That was the reason. Let me quickly run the entire test suite. So PA test, PA for me is PHP artisan. Where is my, yeah, test? These are the 4 tests that we just wrote. So it gives a 200 status code when data is present, gives a 401 when the header is missing, 401 when the token is wrong, and 400 error when event type is not supported. Basic stuff, done and dusted. The next level of refactoring which I want to do is, first of all, I think do I have passwords hard coded? Let me search through the code base if I have any. This is all fine. User password. No, I don't have that. So now it is kind of all dynamic. But I want to create a middleware. That middleware will be responsible for checking the header and also validating. So let's create a middleware. I will name it GitlabMx token. What are we looking at? So I'm checking. I have this has header method. So if the request doesn't have the header, and I'll definitely copy that header. I'm not going to type that. If this is the case, what I would do is return response JSON 401, and the message can be, so it says unauthorized GitLab token is missing. The next condition is, let's just say it will come down, it will not go into this loop if the header is present. So at that point, I'll take that token as request header, copy that, and if token is not equal to that same config thing, right? If this doesn't match, get the response, and I'll just say invalid GitLab token. That's about it. So with this, if I now come over here inside the middleware, I just add GitLab token middleware class, remove that check and run my entire test suite. Everything is passing. So we are confidently able to refactor our code and add this middleware based on the test that we have already written. Because to be very honest, if I just remove this, for example, right? See, 2 tests are failing. It is saying that it gives a 401 error when header is missing is suddenly passing because the middleware is not there. There is no check. Right, so these are the advantages. So I'll just get that back. And yeah, this is what I wanted to cover in this video. And in my as I said in my previous video, there was that video got pretty big, and I was thinking I will not cover these parts, so I completely focused on the service test. And in this video, we covered the nitty-gritties of testing the API as well, because that is also kind of important from a coverage perspective. So that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover. If you like this video and this series, then do click the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel, and yes, whatever is your feedback, I'll be very interested to know. So drop a comment below, share your thoughts, and yeah, hope to see you in the next video.